have found the Genesis frequency. This is Dr. Stephen J. Kazmina welcoming you in to another episode of a show that focuses on your whole life prosperity and success. Whole life prosperity and success by cooperating with the universal laws that are available to each and every one of us. This is Quantum Leap Goal Achievement, radical personal transformation, whole life prosperity and success. Now, stay tuned for another exciting episode that'll move the needle in your life from where you are now to where you want to be. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it may be, wherever you are in the world. When you hit that play button, so glad you did. This is Dr. Cause and Effect, Dr. Stephen J. Kazmina coming at you with another episode of the Genesis Frequency. And we'll dive in today, kind of picking up where we left off last week, but not sure where this will go. It could go in a million different directions. As you know, if you're a first time listener, I don't do a lot of show prep. I don't do a lot of notes. This is just all dropping in. It's inspiration, call it divine inspiration. It just comes in from, things that I've studied all my life, but more than that, things I've put into practice throughout my life. So you could say that I've modeled and demonstrated the principles that I talk about on this show. And it's all about personal, professional development, leadership development, helping you to move from where you are to where you want to be, increasing performance and productivity, developing your leadership skills. And you know what it all comes down to? It comes down to learning to live from the inside out rather than from the outside in. Because that's what society in general, humankind in general, is programmed to do. So you hear me talk a lot about these programs, this internal programming, our habitual behavior. And that's where we have to go. If we want to see something different show up in our lives as our results, we have to stop doing the things, the habitual things, participating in the habitual behaviors that are responsible, that have yielded the results that we are experiencing now, right? We can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. That's the definition of insanity, right? So, through this show and through your own personal development, your professional development, you're apprehending the tools that'll help move you, hopefully move you and into the space where you can make a quantum leap from where you are now to really to what you really want to experience in your life. And this goes for individuals, small business owners, and in the corporate environment as well. I don't care where you are. If you look at your corporate job as a corporate ladder, it doesn't matter what rung of the ladder you are on. This all applies to all of you because we're wired the same way. We live from our programming, we live from our paradigms. Paradigms are a multitude of habits that have almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior, and all of our almost all of our behavior is habitual. So what we were talking about last week was the frequency, the vibration that we're in and day out. And it rises and it falls. That's one of the laws that precedes the law of attraction, the law of rhythm. The tide goes in, the tide comes out, and we go move up and down the scale. But what prompted last week's talk was, I always heard that, hey, match the vibration of the thing that you want, and the thing that you want is yours. So we started talking about vibration and frequency within ourselves, where we're operating on this vibration and frequency scale that we can't see. We talked about tuning the radio dial. I talked about rungs of the ladder. We just mentioned that, but I was talking about that lower rung and getting to the 72nd floor. And I just pulled that number out of my head. And for instance, our what we want to experience, our goal being on that 72nd floor, and we're climbing this staircase or we're climbing this ladder, and each rung of the ladder is a separate frequency, with the lowest rung being the lower frequency and the highest rung being the matching frequency of the desire and where we're aspiring to go, to move into our dream, to move into our desire and what we want to experience in our lives. So we likened it when I used examples like lined paper that we could use, or the musical staff where we see notes and that kind of thing. And just to help you move into an always on awareness of what frequency you're operating in. Okay. Now, you can Google emotional frequencies, vibrational frequencies, and that kind of thing, and find a whole bunch of stuff out there. But I want you to look at it kind of what we're talking about today is how do we stay in the higher state? How do we stay in the higher emotional state? How do we maintain and sustain the higher frequency where the dream exists, where we're matching vibrationally what it is we want to experience? So if we would look at an emotional scale, for instance, down at the very bottom, we would see things like shame and guilt and apathy and sorrow, grief, fear, and worry and doubt is all down there on the lower vibrational scale. If we're staying in a state of feeling guilty or experiencing some shame in our lives, we just can't get past it. If we're always looking in the rearview mirror, living in the past, or experiencing maybe some anxiety because we're always in the future, worrying about the future. If we're living from a place of worry, doubt, fear, uh, you know, anger, even, um, constantly thinking about what we don't have, right? There's ways to live in the energy of what you want to experience without your thoughts going to constantly thinking about what you don't have. And there's a difference, and there's an energetic difference, there's an emotional difference. And you have to be really careful of that now that I brought that up to myself here, because so many times people are, hey, I do, I'm not seeing any results. I'm constantly thinking about what I want to experience in my life, but they have spent so much time in the design stage thinking about what they want that energetically they have actually moved themselves to the feeling tone or the vibrational frequency of it not being there. So they've actually created the dream, which I encourage you to do. Design it using the power of your imagination on the canvas of your mind. But they get stuck because the focus is on I don't have this. I've designed it, but I don't have this. So they actually move into the vibrational frequency of lack and limitation. And I see this all the time, not just with individuals and small businesses, but in the corporate environment. We're not there yet. You got to work harder. Here's your quota. Here's this. Here's what's got to be done. This is what we don't have. This is where we want to be. That's fine. But you're creating an atmosphere and a culture of lack. You're creating a culture and creating programming that says we don't have this. That dominant thought and consciousness establishes the frequency. So let's stick with emotions right now because I think it's easy to relate to, and our emotional state is everything when it comes to manifesting our dreams, to move into that infinite field of potential and actually move from the unmanifest, invisible world of non form, the dream and desire we've created on the screen of our imagination, and moving it into form. So we have to be aware of where we are. See, a couple episodes back, I talked about this pure, raw energy. That's the primary law. I often talk about there being 8 laws that precede the law of attraction, and everybody goes and runs to the law of attraction. It's so popular. But attraction, again, is an effect. It's not a cause. We live in a cause and effect universe. Cause and effect is one of the laws that precede the law of attraction. Okay. The primary law is energy just is. Everything is energy. Everything is made up of energy. This energy isn't good or bad, it's unconditioned, and we are able to tap into it. That's one of the laws that precedes the law of attraction, the law of perpetual transmutation. This energy that just is moldable, pliable, plastic. We can mold it and shape it. And we do this with the power of our thoughts. Okay? So hang in here with me. This is where the emotional scale we'll talk about comes in. We can take this, we can look to this energy, this pure source energy that permeates the universe. We can call it substance if you want. It just is. And it's infinite. But it's moldable. We can shape it. We can design it. We can draw from it to make manifest in our world of visible form the desires of our hearts. But if we mold it and shape it using the power of our thought, how effective do you think we would be if on this emotional scale, this vibrational scale, if we're sustaining an emotional state of shame, guilt, fear, feeling sorry for ourselves, and we're just staying in that place? How effective do you think that will be molding and shaping this energy? See, this energy is responsive too. You often hear me talk about the formula that is always the same. It's just law: thoughts plus feelings plus actions equals results. So if our vibrational frequency, our emotional state is remaining on the lower end of the scale, the lower rung of the ladder, so to speak, the first couple of stairs, maybe we would even take the first step. This energy that's moldable, that we can mold and shape, will be responsive because thoughts plus feelings plus actions equals results, right? Those actions that we take that give us the results we're experiencing, whether we want them or don't want them, is the results of those thoughts and feelings and actions. The action induces a reaction from this energy field, from the universe, from the world around us. You know, you smile at people, that's an action. They usually smile back, right? You move about, you're happy and filled with joy, which is way, way, way up there on the emotional scale of vibrational frequencies. You will tend to experience joy and happiness from the world around you. You'll tend to look at things in a different way. So that's why it's so important to monitor our emotional state. Another of the laws, and I talked about it last week, was the law of polarity. So when we notice, when we're aware of being in an emotional state, or we're at the bottom of the vibrational frequency chart, so to speak, or the lower rungs of the ladder, we know that we can look to the law of polarity and that there's a polar opposite of maybe sadness, for instance, would be happiness. So since we mold and shape this energy field, we can recognize this and work to shift from sadness to happiness. Now, I'm talking in very simplistic terms here. Of course, it's we don't do that. We don't just snap our fingers and say, "Oh, I was sad and boom, now I'm happy." It doesn't necessarily work that way. It's a gradual, way that we make that movement. But it is possible simply because of the law of polarity. And we usually go in steps and stages. But recognizing where we are on the rung of the ladder moves us into that state of awareness. Yeah, I'm here now. okay, I'm here. This is not where I want to be because I do want to experience the ideal that I have designed for my life. I do want to move into the realization of my goal. And I know that this state I'm in, this vibrational frequency that I've been in, sometimes for days, right? Days, weeks, months, has to change. So I have to work to move on up the scale. And we can go up, we can go up the scale to, there's even a place where we're just kind of neutral, like a teeter totter, just kind of balancing in the middle. But we can keep working on up into to willingness. We can be willing to learn. We can be willing to work on expanding our awareness. We can be willing to learn more about these frequency in our emotional state. We can accept the things that we have no power to change, and we can take responsibility for what we can change, and that's usually ourselves, right? So we keep moving up the scale. We use the mental faculties of reason and memory and intuition and will and imagination, and we just start to look at ways that we can utilize the thought process and thinking to mold and shape this energy. And it's staying in these higher frequencies that does that. So that was my question. That's what really started out when I started talking about this. I was always told match the vibrational frequency of what you want, and the thing you want will be yours. So as we move up the scale, we move into higher and higher frequencies, emotional frequencies, the frequency of emotions. We move into to love, and above that is joy, and above that is peace. Then a state of enlightenment, just I get it. I'm aware. This whole thing has just lit up. The light bulb's going off for me. Yep, here I am. That's at the enlightenment at the highest end of the frequency. But just getting to love and joy and that place within you, I call it the secret place of the Most High, where I can just close my eyes, go within, and I experience that peace that surpasses understanding, so to speak. And I can go there. I can go there very quickly now, no matter what's going on in the world around me. So I've gotten better and better over the years at managing these emotional states at the lower end of the scale. So when you're working on something, you say, "Hey, I've designed this goal. I've been listening to your show, or I'm working with one of my clients, and whether it's an individual, small business, or a corporation, you start to become aware of this and how important this is, and they start to work on this. And this awareness and even moving into the enlightenment stage is all about wow, energy, infinite, eternal energy. I have been given the power to mold and shape this with my thoughts, and I can design anything I want and press it into this energy field, and it will be manifest. It will be made manifest in my experience. It will show up in the world of form. Wow. And this is with intangible and tangible things. So let's stick with simplicity here since we're talking about it. We're looking at the frequency of emotions. We've been talking last couple episodes, this episode about vibration and frequency. So do you think that you're going to make an impression on this infinite field of energy? Let's say you want more love to show up in your life. You want more love in your corporate environment. You want your customers to love you. You want to love them back. You want all your employees to, we're not talking about a romantic love. You just want your employees to come and work, to love what they do, because that loving what they do will show up in the way they treat their customers, their coworkers. Just a good energy to be in, right? I don't think anybody will deny that. So we want more love in our life. And say for the individual that wants to experience more of relational love and relationships and that kind of thing. Do you think we're going to impress this energy, mold and shape this energy, impress it enough to attract and bring more energy of love into our lives if we're at the lower end of the scale experiencing the guilt and the apathy and the grief and the fear and living in that place of doubt and fear and worry all the time? Do you think that is attractive to more love showing up in your life or in your environment? We can feel this, can't we? We truly can feel this. You can walk into a place. You can walk into, and small businesses are great examples of that. And there's even some big corporations that do a real good job of this. You can walk into the place and just say, wow, it feels different in here because they have created a culture based on some of these intangible characteristics. Yeah, we can design, we can go to this energy field and bring our design using the law of specificity and say, yeah, I want this, I want to hit this sales goal, this number goal in the corporate environment, or I'm an individual and I want to design this house on the beach and I want to live where I see the water all day, tangible or intangible, right? But we can feel this, and feeling is really the secret. And that's why I'm talking and spending so much time on these emotional frequencies and this vibration and paying attention to where you are. Now you're going to move up and down this scale, but you move down too far. You got to recognize that, hey, you got to lift yourself back up. And talking about feeling it, you can walk into these companies, you can walk into these small businesses, and you can tell this person is aware of this. You really can. And there are some truly blessed individuals that maybe they're not aware of all of the mechanics of this, the quantum level physics of all of this, or whatever you want to call it, but they're aware that, that joy and happiness and love and bringing that to work with them, exuding that, and not only how they are physically with people, but in thoughts and words and in actions gets a response that matches that. If you show up angry, you show up fear based from an energy of lack and limitation, you will bring more of that into your experience. That is the bottom line. That's why it's so important to pay attention to your emotional state and do things that can shift it. I mentioned earlier, it's not something that you can necessarily move from all the way to the bottom of the scale, blink your eyes, snap your fingers, and that you're at the top of the scale. But you recognizing that you can start to do things. Mindfulness is a great practice. If you want more information on mindfulness or you want to do some training around mindfulness, reach out. I can help you with that. But mindfulness, that's really just staying fully present in this moment without drifting to thoughts of the past and thoughts of the future, being right here, right now, with curiosity, without judgment. Mindfulness is a great tool to help move you out of an undesirable frequency or emotional state into a higher frequency and a higher emotional state. There's mindfulness. Some music. What are you listening to? Put on some music, put on some uplifting music, put on some beautiful classical music that does for the soul what a bath does for the body. Rhythm. You have, hey, grab an old coffee can, purchase a small hand drum, just on tap out a rhythm. It helps with mindfulness. It keeps you in the present moment. Just focus on your rhythm and bring one of these intangible characteristics into the rhythm. Just tap it out. I am love. I am joy. I am peace. I am fully awake and aware to the blessings in my life, and on and on. You can just tap that out. Spend a couple minutes a day and let that grow longer and longer. We can use the affirmations. I invited you to do some affirmative statements over the last couple of episodes. Go back to the last couple of episodes. Do that. Visualize. Keep painting that picture. Keep going back to that picture, not as you're looking, not looking at it as a movie in your mind, but you are in that movie. You are the main character. You are living it. You are living from it. You are living the energy of it. You are feeling into it all the time. Feeling. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about emotional states.
And I love it. And we've used up all the time I've went over. I just love talking about this stuff. I love helping people make that shift. I love helping people make the quantum leaps when it comes to goal achievement, performance, productivity. You as an individual in your small business or in your corporation, reach out. Let's have a conversation about that. Successappointment.com gets you on my calendar. More about my company, successocean.com is the website for that. If you're looking to enter into the world of being an entrepreneur, I'm looking for a few select individuals that are an energetic match to step into the world of personal and professional development. Not MLM, no selling, no explaining, no convincing. Go to successocean.biz for that. Hey, you're already set up. You want to take it to the next level? I've teamed up with Kevin Harrington's team. Kevin Harrington, the original shark from Shark Tank, and joined forces with the team of marketers over there. So I got a menu of services that might be very, very appealing to you. Go to shark.successocean.com for more information around any of that. And of course, the website for the show is thegenesisfrequency.com. But again, the calendar showing up in your time zone is successappointment.com. We can talk about any of this. It's free to my listeners to see where you're at, see where you want to go, and look at what is keeping you stuck. So I'd love to have a conversation with you. And again, small businesses, corporations, individuals, workshops, keynotes, featured presentation. We do it all. Learning that last, training that transform, and we have some exciting news coming, always growing, always looking at what's next. Exciting news coming real soon, so stay tuned. For now, you've been listening to the Genesis Frequency. This is Dr. Cause and Effect, Dr. Stephen J. Kosmina, and I wish for you an infinitely spectacular day. God bless you.